Thank you. But thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here. I feel like the picture that one of you put, Magnus, that it was the blender with putting everything together. What I'm going to try to do is try to put everything that everybody has said together in this presentation and try to concentrate all the ideas. Our company is RMA of Texas, Reproductive Medicine Associates of Texas. Our motto is Today You, Tomorrow Family, and I point that out because I will address it later on in the talk. So what we're going to talk today is how, after the patients online get to you, how you're going to make them happy, how are you going to create a memorable experience. And the most important thing, and I think Alexandra touched upon this yesterday when she said that the clinic that she really liked was that one that the website matched the feeling in the office. And that's why it's so important, this first rule that I want to share with you, which is satisfaction equals performance minus expectation. Because if you put it out there in the online, you really have to make sure that you deliver what you said in order for the patients to be happy. Because if I tell a patient it's not going to hurt at all and it hurts a little bit, I'm already having an unhappy customer. But if I tell them that it's going to hurt and it hurts very little, I'm going to be happy. I perform exactly the same way. So it's all about setting the correct expectations. So what we're going to do today, and in the concept of the experience economy, is more about the guest experience is the reality minus the expectation. So what I am going to try to chat today with you is a couple of things. One, the concept of the experience economy and how it's relevant to a fertility practice. What is the experience economy? What is this concept? How do you design a memorable experience for our patients? Other pearls, and what is the future in our field? I'm going to try a little bit to move forward because we have obviously 45 minutes. Why is the experience economy relevant for a fertility practice? Well, there's a very nice survey that was done by Bain & Company for 362 companies, and they asked them, how is the customer experience that you provide? And actually 80% of them believe that their service or their experience was superior, which is already an anomaly because, 80% is like asking if you're taller than the average, and 80% says that I'm taller than the average. So, but the important thing is when they ask the actual customers, look at this gap, 72% gap. When you ask the actual user if you really enjoy or if it was a superior experience, the great majority of them do not agree with you that you thought that you are the best. And you can say whatever you want, that you are the best or whatever, but people will remember what they experienced, how you made them feel. And basically, the idea came because when I entered into this market 7 years ago, we brought the company into a market that was captured 72% by a single provider. I figured that there's only three things that you can compete on. And this is not only valid for fertility, this is valid for any product, any service. There's only three things you can compete on. One is price or the cost. How good are you at creating a lean experience, a lean company? The issue is that it was going to be silly for me to compete in price because then you create an inverted arms race with other people. And the other thing was pregnancy rate. Frankly, the people in our area had very good pregnancy rates, and overall they have very competitive pregnancy rates. So it was going to be very hard. There is a ceiling of how good could you be. And frankly, being a small company to invest in research, it was going to be very hard to really outdo the competition. Fortunately, the third leg was right here. And it's creating that customer intimacy that we focus and continue to focus our energy to try to become the leaders on customer experience in our area. And basically, the idea is we physicians have always been, I grew up in the concept of the evidence-based medicine. What are the results? Give me the data. Show it to me. And yes, that is the outcome. It's based on results, which are very important. My argument today is that if you focus on the process, you actually also will improve inevitably the outcome by improving the way the process is without really looking at the outcome. Let me try to build up in this argument. So a lot of people believe that financial is the most important reason why patients drop out, but actually emotional distress and relational problems are the most important elements why people drop out of a treatment, and financial is less important. So the argument is, this is all data, it's actually German data, and basically it's all data, and it was done with pregnancy rates of 2001, but as you can see, the dropout in the first failed cycle is going to close to 40%, the second one 45%, and the third one more than 50%. So given that pregnancy rate at that time, this is the cumulative pregnancy rate for those patients. Imagine for one moment that we have this utopic place where everything, there's in a vacuum of cost, vacuum of emotions, and we have zero dropout rate. This is exactly how the curve will look. So the argument is, if you improve the process to the point that less patients drop out, ultimately you will improve the outcome. That's the argument that I'm going to try to put up today. And to do that, I am going to try to explain what is the experience economy, which when we design our office, we put all the processes in the architecture of the place, thinking about the experience economy. So for a moment, I wanna tell you that I'm going to digress a little bit from medicine. And I want to tell you that somebody pointed out, I think it was Talia yesterday, that you have to adapt things according to the context and the concept and the culture. So I can tell you that some of the things that I'm going to present today are going to be a little bit odd for some people. And I want you just to keep an open mind because they might not be applicable to all of you, but I want you to understand the concept or share with you the concept of what we're trying to do. And in order to explain the experience economy, I want to digress and I want you to think outside medicine. We're going to think about how the value of economics has grown in a very simple process that has always happened, which is the birthday party. So I want you to think with me on the concept of the birthday party. In 1800s, when the economy was the agrarian economy, when 90% of the people live in the rural area, and you extract things from the natural, you got milk, you got eggs, you got flour. Mom created a cake and celebrated Happy Birthday, Johnny. That was the way to celebrate the birthday. As the people from the agrarian economy moved into the cities to create the Industrial Revolution and created more goods that were made and were more standardized, were basically more able to be targeted to a certain group, then they created, in the United States, obviously, Betty Crocker and the Frost, and now you have a cake, Happy Birthday, Johnny. As these people in the industrial had less time to create the cake because they were harder and harder and harder, then created the service industry, where you go to a bakery and you buy a cake and Happy Birthday, Johnny. This is the place where a lot of the healthcare industry has been stagnant, has been stopped. In fact, listen to our lingo. We are healthcare providers, healthcare services. So this is where we have stopped. There's two more phases in the economical value. The next one is experiences. So the experiences is where you actually, now you go to Chuck E. Cheese or certain other places and the kids do play and have an experience, a memorable experience. Oh, and by the way, there is a cake right there. So the cake is secondary, is the experience. When you go to Disneyland, you are not going into rides, you are going into memories. Even after you have left the place, 10 years later after seeing a picture, you still have the effect of the memory. That is an experience. In fact, I always tell people, if you really want to convert a product or a service into an experience, giving a very poor customer service, and they will remember you. They will certainly remember you, and that's the best way to create a memorable experience. Not a good type, but that's the best way. The next step, and this particular, now the people are not really providers, they're stagers. You create the experience that is done and done again. You have guests instead of patients or clients, where you create and recreate this experience for them. The ultimate step is the transformation economy. Pine and Gilmore created the first paper in Harvard Business Review in 1994, and they created later on the book. And in the transformation economy, you basically are not a person that provides services. You create transformation. You guide the individual through a transformation. Basically, in the idea of the birthday party, there are certain places now that you actually go and bake your own cake, and at the process, the children learn what is a protein, how many calories are in a protein, what kind of carbohydrates are there any kind of fats, etc. So at the end, they learn about the pyramid. At the end of the process, they actually are better individuals. They're better informed. So if you think about it, the end product is the individual. We are the end products in the transformation economy. Or those aspirant parents that want to be fathers. So that's why our motto is today you, tomorrow a family, because we transform individuals into families. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So this is perhaps the most important slide, because the more customized offering, the more individualized, is better than a standardized offering. And trust me, an experience can be standardized. And so that's why you have to keep on being creative and innovating on how you deliver this transformation. So there is actually a very nice article where people think that the physicians need to have an acting course within their curriculum. And basically, an activity done by an individual or group in the presence of and for another individual, that is a performance. Frankly, that's what we do every day. Every fertility member is a performance on a stage. And this article, if a physician does not possess the necessary skills to assess patient emotional needs and to display clear and effective responses to these needs, the job is not done. This is in synchrony with everything that a lot of people said during the past 2 days. And basically, consequently, we believe that medical training should include an acting curriculum focused on the conveying of appropriate beneficial responses to those emotional needs. When you are angry because something happened at home or outside, why should you transfer that emotion into your patient? You have to have the capacity to act and create hope and positive feelings to that couple. So this is where all this comes into being. So the patient healthcare experience depends on how well your team acts, every single member of your team. So how do we design this memorable experience? There is a nice mnemotechnic, but first, you have to think on the 2 dimensions. One is the individual, and the other one is the environment. So if the individual is passive, like when you're listening at a concert, that's one way. Participating when you're skiing, you really have to participate in that activity. You cannot be just passive. And the environment, the relationship that you have with the environment when you're watching a movie, you're basically just absorbed. but you can be interactive, immersed in the whole experience. When you're in a 3D theater and it's vibrating, you're part of the experience. So then you create entertainment or educational experience or aesthetic or escapist. Basically, the best way is to design an experience that is in the sweet spot, that has elements of education, of fun. It's appealing to the ears, and it makes you basically a person that is detached from your reality so you can actually create a better you. So now, this is why a lot of people talk about consumers, that we co-create, we create. Well, some people say that we are now prosumers because we produce our own delivery and we're consumers. So that's why the participant consumers are invited to shape and co-produce the nature of the business offer. So how we design it, this is the mnemotechnic. Theme the experience, harmonize positive cues, eliminate negative cues, and mix in memorabilia and engage in five sentences. So theme the experience is the dominant idea and underlying story that you're going to talk on a daily basis. So in our clinic, we have basically in our center, we don't have a waiting area. We have a welcoming area. So even the wording is an important part. We basically create a history, a story. We have a room that is called the Louis Brown room, where we have all the history about the first IVF baby in the world. We have the Elizabeth Carr room, which is the first IVF baby in the United States. We have Shira room, which is the first baby with surrogate uterus, etc. So we create and share the story of our field. And basically, we have some memorabilia that make them feel that they are in a place that we celebrate life, we celebrate fertility. For example, in certain places, I remember in the United States, you walk in a place, red line, you go to administration, blue line, you go to the OR, etc. So I said, why not? For the guys, in order to go to you know where, they can just follow the sperm. And when we had the open house, we had all these costumes, and we used to give the pictures, and everybody would take pictures. And again, it might not be for everybody, but for us, it has worked pretty good. This is a very interesting story because my marketing person said, we need a billboard, Francisco. You know, Paco, we need a billboard because our competition is putting a billboard. And then my chief operating officer at that time, we were opening another clinic, so we needed some transportation to courier the blood from there to our center. And I said, how much is the courier? Is it $30 a day? Well, it makes sense, you know, $10 for the hour of the guy coming in. It makes sense. I said, wait a minute. $30 a day, that's a car. I can buy a car with that money. So I made both of them happy, and we created a moving billboard, and we have our delivery car. So this is the egg, and the sperms are attacking the egg. And basically, you have no idea how many people have called just because of this to our clinic. So these are our, and the other thing is that if we start thinking with our minds, I don't know if everywhere we divide our generations on the basically the baby boomers and then the Generation X. If we think with a baby boomer mentality and try to take care of people that is Generation X and Generation Millennium or Y, it's the wrong approach. These people are not afraid to talk about these things like our parents or us did. Our grandfather, if you told somebody that you had depressed, you were put in the corner and nobody would talk about it. Nowadays, it's, what are you taking, Prozac? What are you taking? People are more open about depression. Well, it's the same with fertility. It's coming much and more open about it. And I'm not going to have the time to go into all this, but basically, I commissioned this painting for a Mexican British painter that her name is Carmen Martinez Hover, based on a book of Milton Myeroff, which is on caring, which I believe that every single healthcare provider in the world should read, about the philosophy of how to care for people. And basically, I want to emphasize the importance of wording. And the importance of wording is that based on this study that was done in the library in Harvard, we came up with a lot of ideas. They asked people in the library that were in the line copy, excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush? 95% of the people let them go because you are giving them a reason. People like to hear reasons why you do things. To prove that point, they did another study or another test, and excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the stirrup machine? No reason. 60%. Wait a minute, people said. Maybe it's not that you give a reason, or maybe it's that you give a reason, but because we have so many stimuli in our head, our brain needs just one word that triggers, oh, that's a reason. So maybe the word because, if you just use the word because, is so powerful that may do it. So they did this study. Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make copies? Obviously, you have to make copies. So you're not giving a reason. You're using the word because. Guess what? 93%. They are very powerful words. The word imagine. If you use the word imagine, the brain does not have the capacity to discern because what is real and what is imaginary reality. So when you use the word imagine, patient and people already make it their own. They don't want to let it go. Your name is the most powerful word. That's why we instruct in our team members that they use your name 3 times on any interaction. Alexandra, 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 3 times on any interaction on the phone or on in person, because your name is so powerful. So the wording, we don't use a vaginal ultrasound. We said internal ultrasound. We don't say, how old are you? We say, how young are you? Why to put in a negative concept? We don't say embryo biopsies. You're going to damage my embryo. You're going to biopsy? No, we sample them. We actually use a fertility coach instead of a nurse. We have high-tech dream makers, which are the embryologists. We have a fertility welcoming team. We don't freeze your embryos. No, we put them on biological pause. Because freezing, you're going to damage them. So, and we encourage to create and be innovative in the wording on what you like to have, a used car or a pre-owned car. The same thing, but you'd rather have a pre-owned car than a used car. So we don't use the word catheter, we use guide. We don't give injections, we use a pen. So the wording is so important. We were talking about here in the internet how important the wording is on how you put it here and all the words. Can you believe how important it is if I listen it from a doctor or from a nurse? It's even more important. So if we're paying attention to the writing word, better be paying attention to what we say. And the emotional care, we have certain things that we like to. This is an important message that we have. If you're feeling less than B+, let one of the staff know and we'll give you a hug. Sends the message of a human touch, that we are humans and that we understand that you're humans. We distract when we're doing an IUI or the scan. We have a TV up there so they can see without really changing the process. This gives the people that is in a vulnerable position a sense of protection. So, finally, how do we eliminate negative cues? This is a very interesting study from the positive psychology, touching upon what Talia mentioned a little bit, and it's the cost and benefits of writing, talking, and thinking about lives and truths and defeats. So what they did is they asked 75 people, and they measured before and after. They asked them to talk, write, or think about the most negative experience in their life 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week for 5 weeks. And then they asked them to do exactly the same thing with the happiest moment to another group. And they measure before and after. Guess what? If you talk about your traumatic experience or you write about it, you feel better. If you think about it, you feel worse. In the happiness area, it's actually the reverse. Perhaps when you have a traumatic experience and you analyze and organize and a structure allows the person to let go and move on. But happiest experience, I was telling you about imaging. You can discern between what is real and what is not. Well, replaying the positive event in your head is as important. and creates the same sensation. So because of that, we have created a journal that is called Finding You in Infertility. We'll try to put it into an app with certain exercises. We're working on that. It's a step-by-step emotional workout for family building to minimize the negative feeling of the couples. And throughout the process, maximize the time that the patients come back again. So we mix in memorabilia, which is one of the other concepts. We give them the first Petri dish for them to take home, the first crib. We basically put the feet prints, and we create sometimes some T-shirts. This is the embryo made at RMA of Texas, free marketing. So basically, this is the wall of success, where they put the footprint and the date, so there's no HIPAA violation. We don't know. And it is, again, with the senses, now is the fight part, which we engage the senses, the feeling, the touching, and we serve pretty good cappuccino, and we try to engage all the senses. Music, this is one of my cute stories, because I was doing an embryo transfer when we have some music, and the patients start crying after I did the embryo transfer. I say, what did I do? What happened? I am so sorry, what happened? He says, doctor, how did you know that music was the music that was playing when I met my husband? I didn't know, it was just a coincidence, but since then we actually probe and we get Secret Service so we can tailor, individualize the care for the individual, for the person. So actually, sometimes we have games and plays if they're waiting in the room. So again, that is the theme. Harmonize, eliminate, mix in memorabilia, and engage the sentences, all the senses. Other pearls. Good artists copy, great artists steal. Steal from other industries. For example, why don't you start hybridizing? We are not practicing medicine only. We don't practice gynecology. We like to think that we practice gynecology. So we really have to combine the emotional, the mind, the body, and the medicine. 50% of what we do is up here. We really have to be cheerleaders. We have to be hopeful. We have to be positive, without forgetting that we have to do a job as doctors. So hybridize the airline industry. How many people here, they have scheduled patients and they never show up? Presents a big problem for the doctors, because they're waiting there. So we said, what did the airline industry did? Well, in the past, the planes were all empty. Now they're all full. Why? Because they oversell the tickets, and then they give you an incentive to stay if you oversell the tickets. So basically what we did is we created a root cause analysis, and after doing the root cause analysis, we overbooked according to the percentage, and we were ready for whenever we actually had all the patients showed up. And if we took us more than a certain amount of time, we give them some free tickets for the movies, etc., and apologize with a handwritten letter from the doctor, etc. It happens 5-6 times, but the great majority of times we can overcome that. That might not be applicable for everybody, but it's applicable, was applicable in a certain time. I'm not going to show this video because it takes a little bit of time, but it's from a tech talk, basically, that was created in New Orleans, where an old house, they put a wall that says, before I die, and then you start writing what you want to do before you die. And it proliferated, went viral throughout the world. Now there are walls. I did see just in Prague last week one. So we created this. I want to have a baby because, and they write down tax deduction, a third one to rotate on the dishes. I want another person like my wife. My mom has a stage 4 brain cancer, and I want her to have another grandbaby. That's powerful. And one very good one here, it says, so I can raise someone else than my husband. So you can see that actually there is a lot of, and we erase these, and the people come and are driving and are thinking what to put. So this is the engagement. This is social media, but right there in the clinic. Human social media, not in a post, but right here. And like this could be a lot of ideas that you can create. When you go to a restaurant, you want to see how your food is cooked. Why not to do the same thing when we're doing so in a room? We actually put a video, and the family friends are in the other one. and they can actually visualize when we're doing the transferring through Bluetooth. I'm explaining to them what's going on to the father in the other room when we're doing all the process, so he's not left out and he's part of the process. Okay. Sorry, I get carried away. But spa industry, I remember when I had my first haircut in Cleveland, and I went to this place called John Roberts Spa, and I entered and I sat, and somebody came in and says, "Oh, you must be Francisco, the new person here. You're new, right? And it's the first time visit here, right?" "Yes." 5 minutes later, another person, "Oh, you must be, this is the first time, right?" I said, "How do they know?" Well, actually, they have a system where basically, if you're a first customer, they give you a white gown. If you're repetitive, it's a black gown. So you see a white gown, you go and introduce yourself. "You must be new. How are you? Welcome to..." Wow, they make you feel like, that they are really humans who are running this place. So we can do things like that, creating some secret service. I'm going to jump at this one. The secret service is important. We have this, thanks to Bob, with our IT, has created these green places in our electronic medical records where we put personal information, like the patient's dog ran away on Friday night. She is very upset and worried that he will not be returned. So when she comes in and says, "How is your dog? What is the name of your dog? What happened to your dog?" Before you even talk about anything about your medical aspect, says, "How do you know about all that?" Because we have our secret service. And that really is so powerful because it gets to the core of the person, that you are human. I'm not treating a number. I'm treating a person. And that person has defeats and has some ups and downs, and I have to be part of it. So I'm going to step a little bit aside. I don't know if it has volume, this, but you can do it without volume. Every life has a story if we bother to read it. So that's why we really train our people to really read beyond the patient. And The most important thing is human resources. This is a team. It is not a cliche. It's a team. I do not want the best doctors or the best nurses or the best clerks in my office. I want the right ones, not the best ones. The right ones that have seen that philosophy, have seen the vision of what is customer experience, that we are dealing with humans after all. And if you can change the people, change the people. And get happy and silly people like we do. And again, it might not be for everyone. Some people don't feel like coming to our place. But I was telling before that Bill Cosby once said, I don't know what the key to success is, but I know that the key to be unsuccessful is to try to please everyone. So you can't please everyone. Be passionate about what you do. And the employees probably treat your customers the same way you treat your employees. That's so important that you really treat them well, good benefits, etc. So, when there is a problem, is it your fault that despite requesting records from our competition or referral physician, they do not send them on time? No, it's not our fault. Is it our problem? You bet it's our problem. We have to own the problem. Is it our fault that the patient ran out of medication, is weak and nothing is open? No. Is it our problem? You bet it's our problem. So if you own the problem, you own the patient. You have to own the problems. Do not accept fine or okay. Instruct your personnel to ask, how was everything today? When the answer is not, great, awesome, fabulous, excellent, then ask them, what about today was not excellent? You want to know. A complaint is a gift. A lot of people you have to develop thick skin. You will hear things that you don't want to hear. But we pay consultants thousands of dollars to tell us what the patient is going to tell you for free. So be with thick skin. And if they tell you the most horrible thing, listen to it. Own it. The great majority are true. 95% of the times they are totally true. So we have some non-negotiable standards for our patients. It's like, where's the bathroom? You don't say there. No, you take them to the bathroom. You don't point. You don't say. You take them. Never do a blind transfer when we have a phone call. It says, okay, I want to speak with Jane, the nurse. Okay. And then Jane, the nurse says, who is this? Okay. Oh, they didn't tell you? So that's a blind transfer. But if you grab it, it says, Jane, Mrs. Smith is on the phone and she ran out of Follistim. Can you please call her? She wants to talk to you about that. When the nurse calls us, Mrs. Smith, how are you? I understand that you had some problem with Follistim. I'll be happy to call it. That's a warm transfer in the phone. You don't have to explain again. Never say, not a problem. Genuinely say, certainly, absolutely, my pleasure, my privilege. Never pass by a patient without engaging them. The 10-feet rule is that you go and you smile. Hi, how are you? And if you pass again, you say, hi, how are you again? Smile again. Never show frustration in public. So always, focus on what you can do. Never make the customer wrong. Never make the customer wrong. Own it, even if it's not your fault. Never say, I don't know. Say, I will find out for you. And we have other ones that I'm just going to jump. So I like to say that when you are creating this system, this office, this ideal office, a lot of people think that the most important person in a ship is the captain. I can tell you that's totally wrong. If you have a boat that needs to turn around in 180 degrees in 30 feet at 3 knots, and the boat is not designed to do that, you could have the best captain in the world, ain't going to happen. The most important thing is the architect who designs how the process is going to be, how you're going to welcome the patient, what time you're going to spend, how you design, how you're going to incentivize your team members in order to create that experience that you want to create. So the architect of the whole office, it's really what guides function. Intellectuals solve problems, but geniuses prevent them. You really want to prevent all those little things, have to anticipate what the patient is going to have. We like to say that we don't like to apply the golden rule. The golden rule is to do the others like you would like to treat yourself. Well, actually, we like the platinum rule. Treat others how they best like to be treated. Sometimes it's not like you like to be treated. For example, I was saying that when we do the embryo transfer, we ask them about what music do you want, and sometimes they want AC/DC and Kiss, and I wouldn't like that, but that's what they want. So why not to give it to them? So you have to use the platinum rule. Talking about not standardizing things, we have created the RMA of Texas Modified Myers-Briggs Patient Type Indicator. So this is basically a 2-question, and with these 2 questions, how you see the world and gather information, we classify the patients between sensors and intuitives, or judgers and perceivers, and then we have created wording that basically appeals to that person. So when we're explaining things, we try to use this, be practical, use facts, or if it's a judger, let's focus on it, you will have control of. So we try to tailor according to the individual needs. Not everybody learns the same way. I'm not going to get into this, but there's a trade-off between efficiency and experience, and to talk about what Alex was talking about, the variability. Variability is basically the enemy of quality, and in order to have this variability that you have, deal with the variability that you have on different patients, we have created different systems to approach it. I cannot get into detail, but that's basically what it is. I know we're running out of time. Process and outcome once more. If you focus on the process, you probably will change the outcome. Again, I grew up in an evidence-based medicine era, but really, the Institute of Medicine in the United States demonstrate that from 100 medical treatments, only 15 have evidence-based studies to back them up. In other words, 85% of the medicine we practice does not have robust medical data. So really, do we really practice evidence-based medicine? What I like to propose is, in other words, not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. There are certain intangible things that are more important to humans than what can be measured. And what I'm proposing is that instead of having evidence-based medicine, is wisdom-based medicine, which incorporates evidence-based medicine with the patient set of values, what the patient wants. For example, if a patient is bleeding and has a hemoglobin of 4, I know that if I transfuse her, I'm going to save her. Yes, but what if she's Jehovah's Witness? I have to take into account the patient set of values and the expertise and the context of the healthcare delivery, so we can create a more wisdom-based medicine. Using the patient wants to create and use acupuncture or use something else that does not harm and will enhance her perception of the process. Why not? That's being wise. Having persuasion is being wise. Evidence-based medicine is like money. It's a good servant. It's very good, but cannot be your master. You have to use evidence, but cannot be your master, because in reality, you have to use all the things at the psychological level. We were talking about that humans do not make rational decisions that we all think. No, we are now discovering that we actually create a lot of emotional decisions, probably more than rational. So especially when the process is complex, and this is a complex process. So the future, this is the end, I promise. So Bill Gates was asked, he tells a story that his uncle told him, if you really want to be successful, you have to look at the future and what is after and what is going to happen. So he showed him a bunch of seeds, and Bill Gates immediately said, I see a tree. He was so proud. And the uncle said, okay, when you see a forest, you come and talk to me. So, and you can argue, it was not only the forest, when I see the chair made of the wood from the forest, and keep on going. So let's think about the future. British Petroleum has done it very well, because now it's not British Petroleum, it's Beyond Petroleum. If we think about it, they thought that the business was petroleum. No, their business is energy. So now it's Beyond Petroleum, aeolic energy, the gas stations, the solar energy. So their business is not oil, it's energy. The same thing with us. Today, you, tomorrow, family, It's not making babies. In fact, I tell a lot of the patients, the main reason you're here is not to have a baby. Yes, you're not here to have a baby. You're here to have a family. So when you reframe that, and I guarantee you 100% success, when you have, we will make you have your family either with your own egg, somebody else's eggs, your own sperm, somebody else's sperm, surrogate uterus, adoption kid, or child-free living with the adequate psychological support. But you are already a family. The baby is the bypass product of the family, not the end point. If it is the end point, a lot of times you have a baby, but you don't have a family. So it's very important that you reframe how you do things. So clinical, I see in the future that in one-stop shop, you have the fertility, the urological, the complementary treatments, the hysterosalpingograms, the outpatient surgery, adoption agency for those 10% of the patients. In fact, in those footprints that you see in our wall, there are 3 that are the most precious to me, and our 3 adopted kids. We failed. We never got them pregnant. We never got them pregnant, and are the ones that give me more pleasure because the fact that they brought them means that throughout the journey, we treat them with respect, and they wanted to share their baby. We failed, and yet the footprints are there. This is basically the whole concept. Donor program for eggs and for sperm, legal advice, pharmacy, psychological support, third-party reproduction for the fertility in child-free families and blended families that they will require some adaptation of the families because our business is family. That's our business. It's not making babies. But you really have to really enjoy this because the master of the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, her work and his leisure, his love and her religion. He simply pursues his vision of excellence in whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he's working or playing. To him, he's always doing both. You know, when your work is your play, is the best thing. So I leave you, this is the end. This is one of our commercials. Doing more is in our genes. Thank you.